maybe the first time you are doing something, but it is definitely not the only time. If you're new here, I'm Brielle. I'm a creative coach, a life coach, a business coach. I tend to work with people who are either feeling really burnt out, really disconnected, really apathetic about almost everything in their lives, especially their work and their career and sometimes their relationships. Or I work with people who are ready, really feeling ready to get into action around a big idea that they have, a big dream. I've worked with hundreds of clients. I've been doing this for quite a while. And one of the things that comes up again and again is this feeling of, wow, this is my only chance to do the thing that I want to do. And a lot of times when we are bringing to life one of our ideas or one of our dreams, or we're going after one of our goals, this is something that often we spend so long thinking about and so long holding close to ourselves because we had some sort of fear or some sort of belief that this wasn't actually possible for ourselves. Or maybe someone told that to us a long time ago. Maybe we remember it consciously, maybe our subconscious remembers it, right? Because our subconscious is a log of everything that's ever happened to us, and it's constantly processing information, and it's constantly remembering things that even our conscious mind doesn't. So it could be hanging out in your conscious mind, it could be hanging out in your subconscious. But either way, there tends to be a lot of pressure and a lot of um, stake that we put on doing this thing. And that pressure, that fear of, I only get one shot to do this, is the thing that's going to kill your creative power, your creative and your creativity and your creative idea every single time. It's one of the biggest things that kills creativity. And not only is it going to do that, but it's going to produce the anxiety, the overwhelm, the imposter syndrome, the depression, all of the other stuff that doesn't feel good comes from, or can come from a lot of times, just feeling like this is the only shot you get, right? That's when, if we tend to have perfectionism at all come up for us, that's when the perfectionism will come up really strongly, right? And it's like, oh, I cannot put this out into the world until it's absolutely perfect. And the reality is that art is never fully finished. Nothing is ever fully perfect or done. And also, the first time you do it is going to be so different from the fifth time, the sixth time, the 10th time, the 100th time, right? And so, part of really tapping into our creative power and really getting in touch with the soul part of ourselves that wants to come out. And that's where our joy comes from. That's where our flow comes from. That's where our abundance comes from. Is first giving ourselves permission and speaking to our younger selves and helping us believe and see that this is the first time we get to do this, but this is definitely not the only time. You're going to have many, many more chances to bring this idea into the world. And every single time you do, it's going to get a little bit easier. And then there's going to be a day when it is so easy and it's so natural and it's almost instinctive. And you are going to look back at yourself and have so much pride and so much compassion, both for that younger part of yourself, that earlier version of yourself that finally gave yourself the permission, got the courage to just do the thing the first time, because it's always the hardest the first time. And you're going to feel so proud of your entire journey and where you've come. One of the images I think is really helpful to use or to think about when you're just working with yourself and going through something like this is to imagine a plant or a seed, even. A seed needs room to grow, right? We plant it into the ground and it needs a lot of space in that soil. It needs a lot of space around it because it's going to come up and get bigger. But right now it's just a seed. So if we were to put the seed in the ground, surrounded really close to a bunch of other seeds, it wouldn't have the space that it needs when it actually grows. Creativity, bringing our ideas to life, talking to ourselves in this way, and giving ourselves permission to really start to shift our beliefs that we have around this, because in our society, in our culture, so many of us have grown up with the idea that life is a certain way, work is a certain way, business is a certain way, career is a certain way, and that's all there is. And those things are not true. But when we're first working at shifting those ideas, it can be really difficult to get our mind on board, right? Because we've been so long, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years sometimes, believing a certain set of circumstances, and now we're working at shifting those. So we need to give ourselves space, just like that seedling, just like the plant. Creativity needs space to flourish. It needs space to grow. It needs water. It needs care. It needs attention. It needs sunlight. It needs all of those things. And so there are different ways that you can give that to yourself little by little to help your creative idea come out into the world. One of the ways we can start to work with these beliefs is through what I call rewriting or rescripting, where you sit down and you get a piece of paper and you write out all the thoughts that come up. They could sound like, maybe I'm just not good enough to do this, or I just don't have what it takes, or maybe it will say, there just isn't enough time for me to do this thing, right? And so, a really easy, powerful practice can be to write down those thoughts that come up for you. They're a little bit different for all of us, but they tend to fall into a couple of different big categories, either not having enough or not feeling good enough around worthiness, things like that. And you're just going to write them down, and then one by one, you're going to cross out those statements and you're going to rewrite them to something a little bit that's more true. If I write down, there just isn't enough time for me to do this, I might cross that out and rewrite it as, I can find 10 minutes every Saturday to sit down and think about this. Or I'm brushing my teeth and getting dressed to start to think about this or start to work on this. That's another huge thing we can do, is take tiny little steps. So when we're doing something for the first time, or we're getting back into doing something that we haven't done for a while, doing it all at once or trying to sit down for hours and hours and get through this huge project often doesn't work for us, right? It tends to bring up more anxiety, more overwhelm, more imposter syndrome. Instead, we want to take the big goal and we want to break it down into smaller goals. Just like if you were going to start a new fitness program or start a new workout routine to build strength and build muscle in your body, you're not going to sit down that first day. You're not going to go to that gym and work out for 5 hours and be done. You're going to start maybe with a 5 minute workout and then build to a 10 or 15, 20-minute workout until your body and your muscles are able to sustain that. It's the same thing with our creative ideas. I do this type of work with clients all the time in one-on-one coaching sessions. I still work with my own coaches on this because as we continue to go into greater and greater levels of our career, our business, our family, our relationships, whatever it is that's coming up for us, these same sneaky beliefs have their way of coming up. And we tend to go into old patterns of fear and resistance. And so doing this with support of a coach can be so, so, so helpful. It's so powerful. It's so easy. And then the more you do it with someone, of course, the easier it becomes to do it on your own. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I will be happy to answer them. Again, I'm Brielle. I'm a creative coach, a life coach, and a business coach. I have worked with clients one-on-one in different coaching containers. I also have an Own Your Story program, which is a brand and messaging program for all of my business owners and people who want to create and grow their personal brands. And I have a online membership called the Creative Catalyst, where we do all of this type of work and more. I have different tracks, so please check them out, and I will see you next time.